Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Uh, really good. I just happened to be in quite a bit of MSTR, um, really from a couple of weeks ago, but just really took off. I mean, up past 170, which I thought was like a realistic target for the next few weeks. Hit it in a few days. Micron, that was the one for earnings this week for me. That did well. So that, and then just some China and silver. Just was parked in some of those. So seller, not a buyer for now on those stocks.
Nice. Well, the driver was a little off over here. I was putting I was putting okay, but food was great. Company was even better. No, as far as trading goes, I just actually wrote that down. Happened in a few weeks. That's been a theme really since we've kind of, I don't want to say called the top on SPY, but been worried about a top coming in on SPY and the Mag 7 and whatnot.
Yeah,
Getting those smalls that, you think, all right, I'm going to try to get in here. And you don't really get all the way in before the move happens. And probably get into that aspect of it a little more in this conversation. But again, in short term, it happened Monday for me. Um, the only day I was really trading, so I overcommitted. Not necessarily over trading, but I overcommitted. I'm going to check all my scans. I'm going to take some notes just so I had something when I came back. If
yeah,
you've seen anything, I mean, it was 911 on China Monday morning. And I think
right,
I
right.
think I think you've seen it enough to step out of your normal box and get those notes up middle of the day because it was that obvious of what was going on. And I like I just said, I started off real small. For one, it was China. For two, I wasn't going to be around, and for three, you think you have a little time. And when we get into those charts, man, we completed some channels, or we made it back to our one line pivot on most of those plays. So you like Bob is the best one for me because I'm really stubborn with that one. Just having some basically,
Yeah,
not like full position or anything, but I think I had 20, 25 shares. When it pops like that, it's 400 or 500 bucks, but I mean that's still a great trade when you get into that. I mean, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel or like buy a mansion over here. I'm just trying to keep stacking these bricks and to get that when I'm out there enjoying myself. Milko as well, which was probably a little better, was great. And then some continuation in things like AA, and the casinos, bro. For me, I was trying to get into there too, and some of those moves kind of just keep happening. But you just have a plan, you stick to it, and it's hard on both ends, right? It's hard not to like chase and overbuy, and it's hard to sell when you're way up. But when you see the trickling in or the adding up over time, it gets a little easier to do. And right now, with the way you're reading flow, our thesis of the broadening, I don't think we're getting lucky, man, because it started with Rocket Lab and it hasn't really stopped. In
yeah.
a, in a
No,
in a
absolutely.
pretty
Yeah,
not, I wouldn't say it's not a great market, but it's a consolidating market, which is what we talked about.
it is, and I mean, to me, the nothing exemplifies that more than how Nvidia reacts around 120 right now. Is
Yeah.
that ads underneath that, you're in pretty good shape. But at the same time, so if you're buying Nvidia at 117, 118, yes, you're going to get the move to 120. It's also probably going to come back to where you bought it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you if you didn't build a position on it when we really talked about it, the 100 area and below, then it gets harder to hold that, and you're just gonna hop in and out. And while you're devoting so much time to that one stock, and this is what people do, you're missing out on a lot of easier setups that we talked about
Yes.
for a long time. And China, you'll intermittently the past months, I was just kind of like, China, I think it's going to go government intervention, get a piece of it. Um, don't go in short expiration options or anything, which basically meant that your options were going to be in something like Billy or Beak, where time is fairly is fairly cheap. Um, Trying to buy a leap on Baba even back when several weeks ago um, could have gone poorly for you, and it did for people for months and months and months that Baba was down here. So so I think our strategy of talking about how to deal with these I think is fairly important. And I've been talking more about DCA lately. It's just sort of been working for me, and it's a way to manage particular flow setups I see rather than following them into options. I can just spread buys out over time. So before I get into my take on that, how do you approach a like DCA? What does that kind of mean to you?
Well, I mean, definitely got a pretty stock setup there. I mean, you have your swing and you stick with it. Um, so for me, it's kind of a, a three different styles of it, and it touches on a bigger subject, which is going to be my Q4 rest of the year topic, which is time. I mean, you have time. Time is like it's a bigger check or a bigger part of everything you're doing. I mean, if it's a short term thing, you have to approach it a little different. If it's a long term thing, you're unsure about time, you have to approach it a little different because you want time on your side. I'm a firm believer. Nuance saying the only thing that's gonna make a trade red to green is how you time it. It's all that matters. Your timing when you get in
Yeah,
and when you get out. The chart's gonna go up and down. It's about when you time it. So that's way more important. I mean, you do want to use our RTL and historic levels and flow reads, so you kind of know where to go. But timing is everything. So for me, on the short term thing, P is something I think going to happen in the next, I guess in the next month. But really, in my head, it's a little shorter than that because I'll take my time if it's a month. But if it's a month or less, it's like a 2 week DCA 10%, right? So I'm trying to buy every day. Really focused on pre-market and pre-market low, yesterday low, stuff like that, in RTL. And I'll just buy every day for the next 10 days if I think the move is imminent. That's usually more on like I said, the month. It's not really a month because I will take my time with a month. But if it's within like a week or it's an ER where I say 10 days on an ER, that's how I approach that. Because then you get some lift, um, run up as we call it in DER, and you can just stop loss on the way up or just take profit and have a free position. Works really well with the stocks that are a dollar. So I basically stretch out those 10 days, by 10% a day for 10 days, which 10 days in trading is 2 weeks. Pretty simple setup
yeah,
there. What I do in all three of these, I'm going to point out instantly, is I usually have a price that I won't buy above. Just won't do it. I'll just miss a day. Second one is the same thing, exactly the same, but it's on the week level. If I think it's a 3-6 month thesis, I'll do the same thing, but I'll just buy once a week. This one I used a little bit more 1 hour chart, maybe the day charts, just to try to find a bottom, get that best price, set an alert. Again, I'll have a price I won't buy over. Then DCA about 10% every week for 10 weeks. That's 2.5 months for a 3 month thesis. And then lastly is the I don't know when this shit's gonna happen, but I want to be there when it does, and that's purely based off when that alert hits. When that alert hits for the price, and that's kind of both ends of the spectrum for me,
mm-hmm.
because I'll just play the price bounce if the price is right, right? You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of where we come into play. Like I'll ask you, do you see anything? But I'm only really getting an alert on a stock that I already have a level on, and I'll usually again buy a piece there with the thesis of I don't know when, so let's do this really slow at this price or better. Um, yeah, and so that's my three levels of kind of DCA into trades. I mean, there is some nuances there.
Yeah,
Bigger stocks. Um, to be honest, I get into a little quicker because I don't just want to buy one share a week for the next 10 weeks.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
other and probably the other end, I'm a little oh shit, I'll just buy, if 10% is 450 shares of this dollar stock or whatever. Oh shit, I'll just buy 500. That happens too. Don't get me wrong, but the core of it is that those three, and there again, they're based on time for the most part. Um, Whether I think this trade is, for today, for the next 2.5 weeks, or is this for the quarter? Is this something that Professor saying Redfin, great example. Just Redfin was 100% price. I started out at my level, which was like 463, and then I argued with you for about 2 months, and I moved it up to six because I didn't want to buy higher than my normal price. But
Right.
I ended up doing it because it made sense and the thesis was still there. And again, it was more of a long term trade. I'm still waiting for it to hit 12 though, Professor.
Yeah.
Ah. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Sorry for
Uh,
going long, but that's my game in a
no,
nutshell.
mine's similar in it. How imminent I think something is entirely just the option strike. So it's, you know, if right now January is imminent in option world, and then November, December more so. October, I mean, yeah, it's like you can see that's kind of imminent, but you have to what you have to account for there is those are that can be lotto positioning because some of that stuff is so cheap that maybe they're just buying some protection or free money flow like you talked about. So uh, I need to see an actual plan right now for the imminent stuff. It's November calls, January calls, slightly different strike, higher strike in January, 1-2 punch like that. That to me, that's a kind of an everyday DCA kind of thing. And so some oil stocks, which had been monthly buys for me, are almost daily buys for me because of this very thing. And what that allows for is for me, I had a starting position. It's hard to have a green starter in some of this oil stuff, to be honest. But you get your average where you want it more quickly. The buys are smaller, but they're spaced out over time, and I'm comfortable with it. The other scenario where I was buying every day was when I have those numbers on the crypto stocks, and the ones I'm most focused on are always MSTR and Coin, just my style. But I was piling into MSTR and Coin every single day that Coin was below 165. I was buying more and more and more, and then selling some of the
Shares or
options.
options? Shares or options?
Um, Shares,
Okay, I
yeah,
just want to get
shares.
that across to the community. I think.
Right. So the now the options. What I talk about with that is, I said, like for MSTR, I'm like, you have to hedge this until it gets under 130, and then you just go long.
Yeah, so
And that was options too. But I don't DCA options every day. I really on anything.
what's a
Um,
coin option cost like weekly or monthly or whatever? Like what do we,
a monthly a plausible monthly is $500 to $700,
yeah,
and
so if you're buying 5 to 10 of those, you're 25 to 5K in.
yeah,
I
right,
mean, just
exactly. And
theoretically, and
theoretically, yeah,
so if you're buying shares and you get to 100 shares, you're like 16K in, but options can go to zero, right? Like that's gonna
right,
happen. Like even if you get that much in shares, you're gonna have to like sit there and watch some very bad candles to lose 5K.
yeah,
Because it's gonna have to
absolutely.
go to
And
110. I mean, you're gonna have to plant your flag first of all. That's not a good thing. If you're putting 16K into a trade, that should take you at least a month. Um, let's just start there, and then yeah,
yeah,
it's just harder to lose that funds. I think, and I think people don't understand that, or they don't see it that
no,
way.
they
Like
don't.
your shares, you might
Right.
had to put a little more into the shares. It's a lot more. It's 3 times more, but your share position isn't going to go to zero, and it isn't going to deteriorate on you either. And if you DCA, you'll definitely, there's been some times I've DCA'd shares and like I've gotten out at even, but it was still like,
Mhm.
4 or 5% below my first shitty entry, because I properly DCA'd.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when I have a very what I think is like an important broad market thesis about this is going to be a very big thing, and it's happened with uranium several times, and it happened with AI. Into AI, like I was an AVGO, and that I guess is AI adjacent, but like quantum computing. like I have a pretty broad coverage of quantum computing and stocks I buy and how I buy them. And I've gone over all that, everything from Honeywell and IBM to IonQ and Rigetti, which I pop in and out of a little more. Um, but anyway, like if I have something like that, and Bitcoin was like this for me when I started to kind of follow what Saylor was doing. Um, when I basically have raise funds from something I'm write a new edition of my textbook and pays me $6,000 or whatever. I'm going to take half of it and invest in something. I don't really hesitate to put a lot of that in one of those setups that I really believe in. And it's not like, oh well, I think this particular little subsector looks hot for the next 2 months. I'm just going to pile into that. DCAs and those are a little bit slower, but I've as far as use the work, I think we do sometimes spot these big market moving types of trades that people don't really know about yet, and so I do try to use the work for that too.
Yeah, yeah, no, for me, it's, I mean, I wouldn't say I just blindly follow, but it's definitely a check at this point. I mean, why else would we spend so much time together if I don't use it? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
a, don't don't quit your subs. I need to pay for these golf rounds for like
yeah.
at least a solid 2 months of subs. All right, sorry. But yeah, like if I'm not using the work, it would be foolish. And for me, it's just learning how to like apply it. And like where you started this conversation, you were like, well, I like the November's January with the January punch, or and
Yeah.
October doesn't mean much to me. And I was kind of thinking, man, I like anything in October. Them 1018s have been great for me, P. Especially if they have a
Well,
January
they
or
have been,
a March
but my
backing.
my
Um,
point is that we're now moving, like, so they don't stay relevant. It's like the people
yeah.
who call January 2025, they still call it a leap.
Oh yeah,
There
yeah.
are still people who call it a leap because it's next year,
Yep.
and they're not realizing like that's just a couple months away. So
Yeah, but from those
so,
for me, when those flow reads, especially on what I'm looking for in the certain sector, that the
mhm.
and that's really the broadening is what I'm looking for. Like what's beat the shit
Yeah,
a piece seeing, and but when you had that combo over the last 2 weeks, for me, like I get the shares stay relevant because they're up 15 to 20%. So it was a for me that's what I look for, and I do always have that in mind. And I used to ask you when I was unclear, but it's been pretty clear since April or so. What month are you looking at? And that was a regular
yeah.
question. And or what's a leap? I like to ask that to you too.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
right now for me, if it's got March flow, like just straight March flow, and you keep saying it's trickling in, or they're that short term with the January, those have been you know within 5, 6, 7 days, those get enough in, or I can just take my 10% and move on, or I can, cut half and move my stop loss up a little bit and play those. So, um, I wrote that down when you first started talking. Like, it's interesting. I'm using the short term a little more than you are, or maybe it's just
Oh, on the
maybe it's
subject of
currently switching.
this is on the yeah, it is switching right now. I think the next couple of weeks, but this is also in the context of the DCA.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yes, yeah.
so
No,
yeah,
and
I
I'm just trading. I'm just getting a piece of that. Like that's more of a I don't know when, or just grab a little piece and then we'll
yeah,
set an alert at a price and see what happens. But yeah, if you if
and
you if you call something and it's on my level, I'm probably gonna buy it. I got a little
and
hive this week.
I would also encourage. I don't tell people like which broker to use or whatever, but having one account that does fractional shares to me is valuable. Um, I never would have had as much LLY as I was able to build
Oh
if
sure,
I had to buy one whole damn share at a time.
yeah.
Because even when I was started getting in on it in the 600s, like you know,
I'm
I'm gonna
I'm
buy I'm gonna buy a $600 share today.
I'm gonna
Okay,
tell everybody use Fidelity at some point because it's
yeah,
you just get better fills. um,
yeah, yeah,
they don't sponsor me or anything, but I've used you know Webull, Schwab. I have the only thing I think I haven't used is like Robinhood. I ain't used that one, but from
Yeah.
what I hear, you're not getting great fills. So when you do get a chunk and you get used to that, I mean, when 4 to 5
I don't.
cents
I
matters,
I think Robinhood
huge.
has better fills on options than shares.
That could be. I have
And
no clue on that.
it makes sense because I mean it's a gambling app. It really, I mean, that's what it is. And the reason I like Robinhood is purely muscle memory of buying options for day trades because I just am so quick at knowing exactly where to type and when and swiping it. I look like a teenager on their phone when I'm going through buying something. So I mean that's purely the only reason. But yeah, I mean the some of the work like some of the brokers that only do full shares. I think that that doesn't really work with DCAs very well unless the stock is well whatever your comfort, $100 or $80 or seven, whatever. But harder to do that with the four, six, $800 stocks.
Yeah, I totally get that. Um, I mean, you see where I trade.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
You got anything else? Want to get a little bit of boring stuff before we
Well, yeah, real quick on that. So, and then we'll move on. But since we've been working together, do you look at the more expensive stocks a lot more than you used to? Like, I mean, what were you even
I mean,
looking at those?
I invest in stuff, but we don't really talk about that here. I mean, you just shut up
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
just buy it and put it away. But I mean,
right, right.
I mean, that's where the
But
money.
you
That's
weren't
where the
looking at like
money goes. Go ahead.
LLY's building at 900. You weren't looking at stuff
No,
like
no,
that.
no. That's
Yeah,
not in my wheelhouse. It's just not my cup of tea. So,
yeah,
um, healthcare in general, P. I'm not gonna dump 60K into healthcare. Let's just go like that. But where do you think my
yeah, yeah,
profits? Where do you think my profits go? I mean, I don't got a Lambo. I did just buy a Tesla, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
got a Lambo. I'm not on the beach every weekend. You know what I mean? I mean, I golf a little
Right,
bit.
right.
I golf a little
Yeah,
bit, but I don't golf like 8 or 20K a month. I mean, let's get realistic. Where do you think it goes?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah. I don't. I just have that. That's that long term thing I talked about too. Was like it's just a price point. When you have 10 things that you believe in long term, you just have price points that you probably update every quarter or so. I'm bad at that, so it's probably a little longer than that. And when it hits, you just buy a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why I mean that's why I like Tesla. Let's be honest. That's why I like Tesla because it'll come back to my entry. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I can read it a little bit, and that is a good place to put a decent chunk. And through the years, it's been up. Same with Nvidia. Nvidia is another good example. I mean, I'll be back in there. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Yep.
I probably gonna talk me into coin. Square.
Yeah.
Square's pretty
Yeah.
big for me. Roblox, pretty big for me. Those names. I still am in and playing probably larger than I should in PTLO. I believe in
Yep.
that long. I believe in that long term. But I mean, that's something we don't talk about. We just don't really talk about investing. I mean, if the room wants to start asking questions. If you're into
Yeah.
investing, asking
Yeah.
questions. That's what I preach that because I mean, in Goose this week. Not to get too far off topic, but Goose this week we're throwing the GME levels out there. I mean, GME would hit 1942. My level's 1944. And then we have the top end like at 23 something, just for the quick little channel bounce. But
Yeah.
me and Goose figured that out many moons ago, just in general conversation in the room, and it was just me bitching about, she'd ask what you'd see on the chart, and I'd be like, get rid of these fucking horizontal lines, or
Yeah.
the diagonal lines. Get horizontal lines only. And it was just that conversation and trying to show her that look, this is why you want a horizontal line because it's gonna come back through time. If you stay in this price zone, it's gonna be fucking important. And
Yeah.
after a while, you'll understand what you're to look for when it moves. I mean, I said about Rocket Lab that 410 to 477, which is about 20% for you people that are bad at math and just think it's 60 cents or whatever. But
Yeah.
I said that channel was undefeated. You
Hmm.
think you're going to get those ads again?
Yes.
It's not happening. So
Yeah.
you kind of just figure stuff out, and like some stuff those not as we always preach, the stuff that's not 7, 8 out of 10 on the street. when it's 3, 4, 5 on the street, people don't know about it. It's gonna do what this chart I have up right now does. Coinbase.
Yeah.
It's gonna 200-300% consolidate. Probably do it a couple more times.
Yep.
But yeah, we don't talk about investing. So,
Yeah.
you got some boring stuff for me?
Yeah.
Anything
So,
important?
natural gas
Yay, that sounds
is
great.
working on a move to $3. Pretty much exactly what I said last week. And yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of great setups in there because the combo stocks for the longest time the natural gas part of their business was kind of holding them back a bit, but they're pretty stable. Oil was fine. Some of those took a decent dip lately with oil and with natural gas gearing up. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of 15-20% moves in those stocks. So I would look at that kind of flow. Um, Move to three is nothing in natural gas. I mean, what you're really after is a $5 to $7 area,
Yeah.
and I think we're headed that direction um, next year sometime. So
Well,
um,
coming up on winter, a little political change. So
yeah,
I like all that. When it hit
yep,
9, was it 2 years ago? When it hit 9, it was November. So
yeah,
I like a little
yeah,
mid.
and that just
I like a little
that
mid
just kept
candle
going.
retrace.
There you go. Yeah, I would say, I mean, something like Boyle is all right. You just got to understand his 3x leverage. Uh, I kind of prefer UNG as far as that goes. And then
Yeah,
a lot of, some of the individual names.
combo
Um,
stocks.
yeah, exactly. So we'll be on those. Um, other stuff, gold and silver, it just kept going, kind of like we talked about last week. Little pullback Friday, not really anything significant. I still look at those, and I think uranium is primed for a fairly large move soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's sitting at 81. 80 didn't break down, and flow is there. The all the AI hype stories are firing back up. Was 3 Mile Island for
Yeah,
Microsoft,
yeah,
like
that was
all that kind of stuff.
good.
Um, and kind of big. Europe's going to get back engaged with nuclear as well. You'll see them fire their plants back up just out of the interest of energy independence. So yeah, love uranium, and still like lithium. A little quiet, but I think shut up and buy on a couple of lithium stocks.
That's a
And
good.
what I'm seeing in EV is kind of matching up with that too.
Yeah, that's a good. The longer term DCA where you just set a price and when it hits, you buy it once a
Yeah.
week or whatever, just to get a little bit and spread them out over a couple plays. I like that.
And then lastly, copper just gone. And I was, I
Yeah,
mean, I
I
don't have
got.
much to add on copper this week, but it was like I said, $4, get below it for like 2 days. That held. All right, we're good to go. And then get your FCX, your SCCO, and you did well if you bought that.
Oh, I bought AA, so
There you go too. Yeah,
I don't know if it just seemed like that's the one when we talk copper for me. I mean, I had a buy order for Southern Copper in, but it never broke that psych.
yeah,
Because I played that off like 82. I have a problem when it's you play what the last time you look at your note. And I played it off like the 82 level last time, and it was like, all right, well, I at least want to get upper 90s on the psych break, and then we can see strength back, and it just never even got there. I like that chart. That's my favorite copper chart, Professor.
yeah,
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, we got
yeah.
down
It's
to
clean.
104. Yeah, God, that sucks. I'm so cheap. Um, yeah, I had that on the list
And
again,
so
but
yeah, and so the by the time like Twitter talking about copper now, they'll just say, "Don't trust the move in copper." Well, I don't need to trust it much from here. because because we bought AA for like under 32. I just kept buying it.
Yeah, yeah. It was well, I was anything in
And
20s. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah. We
uh,
got this. This
not
is
too worried about
this is great.
the follow through. But I wouldn't short it either. So I
Yeah,
think this could be sustained. A lot of it relates to China. I didn't really put that together when I saw the flow that China would be the thing to move it. But again, doesn't matter. I just thought it was going to move. So
yeah,
then
yeah. I dumped this when
the
I got
news comes
home.
after.
I
Yeah,
dumped this when
yeah,
I
yeah,
got home. I sold a lot of stuff on Friday, just because of some of the candles. I mean, this is what these channels are about to me. I mean, if you complete them in a week, or this is really a 3 week play. Don't get me wrong, but if you complete
yeah,
them, if they complete that channel in 1 week, I mean, I would sell at least half of it in the best case scenario. But selling all of it and buying back on strength ain't a bad thing either. You can get it, you can get 10% off of just that, and then if it does break out, maybe go a little smaller. Don't go back in full, but
yeah.
that's what the levels are for, P. I mean, that's when I knock on your door at the office and say, hey, what do you see? Is it continuation of the same thing, or is it are we just here? And usually you're pretty good at that direction. So
Yeah.
um, spy action.
Yeah. All right. So um
Actually charted that with Goose on Friday. I feel dirty.
yeah.
Let me pull up SPX. What did we have last week? We had you had 559. I had 571. It was 574, kind of split the middle there. And then you 570 on the bottom. I was 561 on the bottom. 67, maybe a little closer to yours on that side. So probably the tighter range that you had. A little bit to the north was it. I expected maybe a little more flatter pullback, but got the kind of candle, I guess.
Yeah.
We're $13 candle, and we called 10 and 11. So no breaks.
So
It's
I
looking
got
like.
yeah, I got a new one to keep an eye on. March 520
Jesus.
is is dominating. So leaning ask side. So it looks like a hedge to me. And that's about yeah, it's a little under $1,000. So it's not like a retail swing or something. So
Yeah, not that
um
it's this week, but I got a 532 on the daily. That I mean, if we got going that way and the 50 broke, we could get that big candle down. But I
yeah,
think even the 550 psych would be the I pivot currently on that side. Like that's where we should bounce if we're going to continue to stay in the trend. I
yeah.
said it earlier though. We're touching the. If we don't touch the 50, I'm shocked. And we got some time, but it's
Yeah,
far from here.
right. Well, that 520 March, yeah, it's far enough out that they're just going to move in and out of that thing. So like it's not like they build their position and then they just sell to close, buy to open is kind of what they're going to be doing. And it's probably if it moves 1,200 a contract or something, they'll peel it off and then they'll keep getting back into it. So I don't. It's not the. It was just interesting to me that they moved it. They moved it up $20. They punted December
Yeah,
500
yeah.
to March 520.
That
So
makes
that tells you
sense.
something.
So
Yeah.
I did write notes. Don't know if you caught it, but that like last year, that around this time, maybe it was about a month before this, but I said I don't know when, but September to January, the bottom's going to be somewhere in there. Just and we're going to get out of that, and then I kind of figured April would be a pullback and maybe a leveling off. Got the pullback like we do in April. Always profit takers there. People got to pay taxes. Um, Not you little people. And then you kind of said, that we're not going to stop on a lot of this stuff since then. So I kind of been, like we're buying our time. And then like maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I said it was halftime. Um,
Yeah.
because I didn't see a reason for it to stop, but I did see a reason to you kind of be cautious. And I think we're getting out of that, but I don't think um, we're gonna have any kind of drastic move around unless something political happens, or or
Yeah.
we or we get to the election and the rate cut, which is 2 days after the election. But the market wants to kind of tiptoe by that, it seems, and they're hedging in case we can't. They're just trying to like sneak out the door to the end of the year up here in 10% above of what they called, or 5% above of what they called that 550, 560. They're trying to close at 580, 590. But I think
Yeah.
the pullback or the real downside happens because of world events towards. I mean, I don't think the hurricane's going to do it. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's
No.
some big geopolitical stuff, or our election having problems, or the Fed's pouting on rates, which I mentioned last week. Them just pausing because it's 2 days after the election. Um, so yeah, I think we're just waiting for November, and the market will be super pouty if anything happens, um, and that's what they're setting up for. If not, we have this slow little. I mean, what we've been going through. Like you just get the feel of 3 or 4 weeks. We're going up. It can't stop, and you have one bad week, which is really one bad day or 2 bad hours,
Yeah.
and then low volume. I think we're more of that cycle still until something happens or nothing happens.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I'm wondering if you have anything on your chart in like the 564.
I really just got this. I mean, I don't like going smaller than the day, but yeah, I got an auto RTL at 564.76 on the 1 hour. I don't like using this level,
Yeah.
except for day trades, so that might work for you over there. But for me, I'm
Right.
more
Right.
big. I'm more big picture on this chart, and it was 532, which I always ask you like, will that 520 be profitable then? And you're like, oh shit, they're great by then. Um, but the 550 pivot looks like that's going to be the area to break trend right now. It's kind of in between the 200 and the 50 SMA currently, so you'd have to break the 50, and then break that 550 psych. But yeah, if you're going on the short term, my 20-day volume profile is 570, which is where the price is at. That means people are buying up here. It's the most bought
Yeah.
level in the last month. That's where the most shares are sold out in the last month is 570. Um, the last one, 562, stands out down there. I have consolidation before this breakout at 564. So yeah, that level does line up. These are all this would be my short term stuff, P. If you want to know who's buying where in the last month.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't day trade SPY. I care about it for the stocks that I'm in that it'll mess with,
Yeah,
basically.
if you
After,
can
but
make money buying below 564 and selling at 570, that's all I would be doing when that's available. But it's not going to be offered every day.
yeah. Right.
And
Right.
it's gonna be that ugly pre-market candle that we always talk about that doesn't last. So,
Yeah. The don't chase put setup. Yeah.
yes,
Um.
that's where we are. That's
Yeah.
just
So
where we are, though, right? That's just where we are for the
Oh
most
yeah.
part.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go a little above that for my bottom here.
Oh, sure, sure.
560 566.34. That's gonna be my bottom this week. Top, I just don't even know when we get up here.
Yeah, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I'll just say 575.05. Little tighter range this week.
I'm gonna go. I think China can move the market a little bit, at least for euphoria standpoint. So I'm gonna go a little higher this week. 577.69. We all know why. Downside, just if I'm right there, it's not gonna last long down. So and I do believe another tight candle. So 568.03. So
Nice.
two both sides of UP. I think what's more important there is we both see a similar size candle on SPY this week. And that for you SPY traders or you ETF traders, um, individuals are better at this current point in time. And you see that with the Twitter kids. That's why they get wrecked, is because they stick to one of
Yeah.
these, and then they can't trade it for a month when they consolidate, and the market looks really good, so they get biased into upside, and it's just not there for this kind of play.
And they'll unironically use the term crash on SPY having going down 1.2% a day.
Yeah.
They'll call that a crash. And so then the mentality is I need to get into this on the downside. And it's hard to short the market. I mean, I honestly just think most people would be better off never even trying, even through options. Uh, just be patient, wait for it to hit a spot where you think it's got some support and go long.
Yeah,
And that's
no,
it.
100%, 100%. Are you ready to get to work, Pete?
Uh, yeah. So I'm gonna get a coffee refill, 2 minutes, and I'll be good to go.
Perfect. Link somewhere, like and subscribe, people.